vibrations, new sensations. I'm big in other West African nations. New creations, great vibrations, new sensations. I'm big in other West African nations. New creations, great vibrations, new sensations. I'm big in other West African nations. New creations, great vibrations, new sensations. I'm big in other West African nations. All my Yoruba people come vibe with me. Ibo Eve, Edo, and Ashanti, Igala, Benny, and Fulani. Where you at? Where you at? Come oblige me. Always speaking of you highly in my writings. West Africa, I see your roots sprouting.
All right. So I'm going to discuss Sodom and Gomorrah according to, what I read, right? But then we're going to go back into the Bible and break some stuff down, right? And if you can't have the patience, or you don't like my topics, or you don't like my voice, or you feel as though I need to do it better in a better way, or do it like paid programming, then maybe you need to go watch some TV for real. This is YouTube, my tube. I don't really care about making topics for other people to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care about that. I'm not trying to sell to people. I'm trying to inform you. So, yeah. Sodom and Gomorrah. I believe it started off with Abraham, right? But, in the Bible, those names like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and stuff like that, they are newly names that were inserted in. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I could tell you that is because, the letter J is a fairly new letter.
John Giorgio Trissino. According to 8 sources. When was the letter J invented? The letter J was invented for the Italian language by a man called John Giorgio Trissino in the year 1524. It was used in Roman numerals, but back then, it was an alternative way of writing I, not its own letter.
So that's one of the reasons, but there's many factors into it. But we're going to go back to the days of that man named Abraham. And if you're trying to equate the world that we are in today as the same time as Abraham, you're greatly mistaken. Abraham lived in a world where he can make up his own rules and another people wouldn't come to him and make up rules for him. He made his own laws. He made his own commandments. All right. So now you get the starting the theme of Abraham. Let's continue. So Abraham had a nephew, I believe, named Lot. Now he had Lot before he had Isaac and Ishmael, I believe. Before he even had children, he had Lot, right? And Lot and him were in business, I guess, or they worked together, or they lived together, and they were cattle herders, and they take care of sheep and animals, right? And got to the point that they were breeding so much animals in the territory that they was in, it got too small that the employees of these two great men at that time, because they both was getting money. You know what I'm saying? Abraham was getting money. Abraham was tithing to Melchizedek. And if I'll break down Melchizedek, I already did. You can check out that video. But I got a new understanding about Melchizedek and why he had no mother and father. Because, previously I said Apostle Paul was lying. But now I got the understanding. So I like to recorrect myself. Anyway, so Lot and Abraham, or Abraham and Lot, since Abraham comes before Lot, right, got into a skirmish because of their employees. You know what I mean? The employees started to fight, and then they being knowledgeable of how business really work. You know what I'm saying? they like, yo, we don't want to beef amongst each other, so let's separate and set ways and spread and go out. You know what I mean? Let me go my way, you go your way. We both got money. We both big men in our town. Let's go and separate. And so Abraham gave Lot a choice, because Abraham said, yo, I ain't going nowhere. I like where I'm at. So you choose where you want to go. So Lot just looked and saw a fertile land, and he said, oh, yo, I'm going over there. But he ain't know what was over there. He just said, oh, I'm going over there. So I believe from this incident, Lot and Abraham's incident, Isaac learned. You know what I mean? Because the Lord said to Isaac, do not go down to the Egypt. Stay in Canaan. You know what I mean? And that's where he made 100% of his increase of what he sold into that land. But that's another story. You know what I mean? So Lot doesn't know what this fertile area or this land is about. But he leaves his uncle, you know what I'm saying, who was a great man and who prospered him and made him a great man, right? He left him in the great land that Abraham was at to go to another land that he didn't know nothing about. All right, so he finally gets to this land and he find out that this land is bad. It's bad, yo. It's real bad. It's bad. It's really bad, yo. These people in this place called Sodom and Gomorrah, they behave in a certain way that the rest of the people in the world just didn't do. Their laws was crazy. You know what I mean? Their ways was crazy. And I liken it to European nations today. And that's where we are going to begin. So let's read this book and go into the Bible. And then the Bible tags team another book. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to go into that book. You know what I mean? And then we're going to get a better understanding. Or, see, I overstand this stuff. But for the listener, I would like for you to understand. So thank you for bearing with my little beginning talk. Now we're about to proceed to the Bible lesson and the talk and the gist of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right.
Book of Jasher, chapter 18. 1. And Abraham rose and did all that God had ordered him, and he took the men of his household and those bought with his money, and he circumcised them as the Lord had commanded him. 2. And there was not one left whom he did not circumcise, and Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin. 13 years old was Ishmael when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. 3. And in the third day Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun, during the pain of his flesh. 4. And the Lord appeared to him in the plain of Mamre, and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him, and he was sitting at the door of the tent, and he lifted his eyes and saw, and lo, 3 men were coming from a distance, and he rose up and ran to meet them. And he bowed down to them and brought them into his house. 5. And he said to them, If now I have found favor in your sight, turn in and eat a morsel of bread. And he pressed them, and they turned in, and he gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he placed them under a tree at the door of the tent. 6. And Abraham ran and took a calf, tender and good, and he hastened to kill it, and gave it to his servant Eliezer to dress. 7. And Abraham came to Sarah into the tent, and he said to her, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it and make cakes to cover the pot containing the meat. And she did so. 8. And Abraham hastened and brought before them butter and milk, beef, and mutton, and gave it before them to eat before the flesh of the calf was sufficiently done, and they did eat. 9 And when they had done eating, one of them said to him, I will return to thee according to the time of life, and Sarah thy wife shall have a son. 10 And the men afterward departed and went their ways, to the places to which they were sent. 11 In those days all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, and of the whole 5 cities, were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord, and they provoked the Lord with their abominations, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before the Lord, and their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before the Lord. 12 And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about half a day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. 13 And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times in the year, with their wives and children and all belonging to them, and they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. 14 And in the time of rejoicing they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives, and some, the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them, and each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor and did not say a word. 15 And they did so from morning to night, and they afterward returned home each man to his house and each woman to her tent, so they always did 4 times in the year. 16 Also when a stranger came into their cities and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of these cities would assemble, men, women and children, young and old, and go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land. 17 And if the owner of the goods quarrelled with them, saying, What is this work which you have done to me? Then they would approach to him one by one, and each would show him the little which he took and taunt him, saying, I only took that little which thou didst give me. And when he heard this from them all, he would arise.
Oh, sorry. So sorry. Seems like we are having technical difficulties, but you can see where it said that the children or the people of Sodom and Gomorrah were very, very, very weird in their practices. And their practices is such of what we will say happens in European nations to black people, you know? But that's neither here nor there. I can say that because I have watched Rosewood. I know about the Black Wall Street, and I know different things like that. So I can really compare this to the likeness of Europeans against black people. But this is a different time and different space where this has happened, and God had destroyed the city according to the Bible. Now the book of Jasher explains it in detail. So whenever you get a chance, you can always go back and read it for yourselves. Okay, that's the Jasher chapter 18. All right.
So many flavors and leave you with an aftertaste. Trying to make a couple billion off these beats I make. Not trying to be that nigga that you people will hate. Making beautiful music that you people can relate to. To everyone who listen, I am grateful. Grateful for those who support me, man, you're so faithful. I supply you with serenity, beats you chill to. Sipping on some Hennessy, blow it diesel. We just ordinary people who don't be causing no evil. Hearing voices in my head like you got 2 boys who need you. I want my children to have what I had, a wonderful childhood. Wanna make sure my family, money-wise, be all good. Wanna live where you see dads passing through the neighborhoods. Yorubas watching me like it's Nollywood. Rate my base in Yoruba land, maybe I probably should. Made by Yorubas, let the world know the sun. some are Caribbean. See our features in African Americans. Young Yoruba girl, looking Brazilian. With an ankara on, dressing like she Indian. Let this shit rock for my people who have not, hoping to get. So they hustle and don't stop. 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 Let this shit rock for my people who have not, hoping to get. So they hustle and don't stop. Hustle and don't stop. Hustle and don't stop. Hustle and don't stop. Hustle and don't stop.